and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras, here with ILTV's Morning Briefing.
Israeli Air Force jets opened fire on a group of Palestinians in the northern Gaza Strip this morning as the cell was launching incendiary balloons into Israel. No injuries from the strike were reported, but the incident comes after a recent rise in flaming kite attacks. The incendiary kites and balloons were coming into Israel on a near daily basis for months, but recently frequency has been in a relative lull, that is until this week. Riots and protests along the Gaza border haven't been much different, however, as terrorists continue to attack the Israeli border and the IDF soldiers stationed along it. Yesterday, the Gaza Health Ministry reported 32 Palestinians wounded by Israeli fire during the mass protests along the beach. Gaza rioters threw flaming tires over the security barrier and boats with Palestinian flags approached the blockade. Just hours earlier, 2 terrorists in the southern Gaza Strip planted an explosive near the border fence. The explosion did cause damage to the barrier, but thankfully no IDF soldiers were hurt. The Israeli Air Force responded by firing on Hamas positions. Israel regularly responds in this fashion, either with riot dispersal methods or with live return fire, depending on the situation on the ground. Monday in the Knesset, Prime Minister Netanyahu reiterated that Israel will do, quote, everything to prevent unnecessary wars, end quote, but will also not hesitate if need be. Defense Minister Lieberman also threatened that Hamas would need to heed Israel's warnings if it didn't want to see another war in the Strip. The defense minister already halted fuel shipments last weekend in response to continued violence. Hamas, however, has responded by calling Israel's bluff, saying the Palestinians aren't intimidated by Israel's, quote, empty threats. Meanwhile, looking to the north, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said Monday at the start of the Knesset's winter session that Israel is continuing to act against Iranian advancement in Syria while remaining in consistent contact with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Netanyahu said that his relationship with Putin is mutual and very important, as it allows him to deal with the challenges in the region. But he went on to say that despite how important his friendship with Russia is, quote, the most important of all is the alliance we've established with our greatest friend, the United States. Not only is the Trump administration committed to support us when it comes to security, the American president has also elevated the United States' support for Israel at the United Nations to a whole new level. We are in the eye of the storm with the turbulent Middle East around us, but I will not let this storm shake us, end quote. In line with those comments, a secret Israeli and American military delegation was reportedly sent to the Ukraine to test out the Russian-made S-300 missile defense system, the very same system that Russia recently delivered to Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Neither Israel nor the United States have responded for comment about this delegation, but reports say that the Ukrainian army educated their guests on the S-300's capabilities and helped run various test scenarios. This isn't the first time Israeli Air Forces allegedly trained against the S-300 either, with some reports dating back to joint exercises in Greece as far back as 2007. And now Israel's fleet of F-35s are back in full service too, just in time for scheduled Air Force drills yesterday and today across the country. All signs clearly seem to point to Netanyahu sticking to his guns in defending Israel's continued, quote, legitimate activity in Syria against Iran and its proxies, end quote. In other news, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's chief defense lawyer, Yakov Weinroth, died suddenly on Tuesday morning at the age of 71. Weinroth was battling cancer, and reports show that he had been sick for a while and was visibly frail in interviews he gave over the past year. But there were no indications of the end being so near. He even continued to work almost to his very last day. Yakov Weinroth was one of Israel's most outstanding attorneys. He founded the Dr. J. Weinroth and Company law firm, which over the years became a leading office specializing in white-collar crimes. Prime Minister Netanyahu issued a statement saying that he and his wife were, quote, shocked with sadness, and that Yakov was exceptional in his personality, his wisdom, his mental acuity, his sense of justice, and his loyalty to his people. This is a great loss to his family, friends, and his admirers, and it's a great loss to the Israeli justice system, end quote. But in recent years, Weinroth has been mostly identified with representing the Netanyahus in various legal cases. He was supposed to start trial as representative for Sarah Netanyahu on October 7th, but pulled out just a few days prior, saying that his firm believed they should have reached a settlement deal, which was never agreed upon by either Sarah or the Attorney General. As for the Prime Minister's cases, Weinroth's death obviously raises many questions as to whom will lead the defense in the ongoing investigations. The representation of prominent people doesn't end there, though. He also represented Avigdor Lieberman in the 2013 Belarus ambassador affair, former President Ezer Weitzman, Minister Rafael Eitan, Meir Shitrit, and a variety of other major officials. Israel indeed suffered an outstanding loss in the legal system, and only time will tell how things play out. He leaves behind a wife and 6 children. Finally, according to a recent announcement by Australia's new Prime Minister Scott Morrison, the newly elected leader is, quote, open to moving the Australian embassy in Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. As anticipated, however, while the move would strengthen Israel's position on Jerusalem internationally, the prospect of the move has already sparked intense debate. First, Morrison is an evangelical Christian, raising fears that his decision was made on the basis of faith. The Australian Premier denied the accusation, though, continuing that he's in support of a two-state solution, but that the topic of Jerusalem must not be taboo. He said that we should be looking into any and all possible solutions for the conflict as, quote, not a lot of progress has been made, and you don't keep doing the same thing and expect different results, end quote. But the biggest criticism Morrison received was from the Palestinian representative to Australia, Izzat Saleh Abdul Hadi, who called Morrison's consideration of the move, quote, deeply disturbing. He said that it would only reinforce the United States' approach of taking the status of Jerusalem and the Palestinian refugees' right of return off the table. Morrison insisted the United States had nothing to do with the decision, however, yet did confirm speaking with Netanyahu, who tweeted his thanks to Morrison for considering the move. Ever since Trump declared the United States' intentions to move the embassy to Jerusalem last December, Israel has been trying to persuade other countries to follow suit. As of now, only Guatemala has made the announcement to move its embassy as well, so having Australia even consider the relocation too is seen as a huge step.
That's all for now. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.